name is Lulu and these are my books. Today we are filming another book tag video. I've been doing a lot of these and these always make me really happy because it just gives me a chance to just like chill out and talk about books that I really enjoy. We are doing Amy's Tea book tag and I found this online actually, and as someone who continuously drinks so much tea, as evidenced by the jasmine green tea behind me, I decided to take it upon myself to do the book tag. And I'm really excited by this one actually, because it just like the way these books are described and the way that I had to really think about what I wanted to say for each book, the books I wanted to like actually apply to each question, were really interesting. So let's get started. Our first question, not really question, but our first tea is Double Bergamot Earl Grey, a robust, deep, intellectual, and flavorful book. And the one I chose for this one was Snowflower and the Secret Fan by Lisa C. So if you remember my vlog on that, I annotated this book. I had so much fun annotating it actually, and rereading it and like analyzing the text and all of that. And I will persist to the day I die that this is one of the most hard-hitting books that I've ever read, because it is A, so relevant for the time today, and B, doesn't tackles all of the things that make it difficult to be a woman. Even if it isn't in this generation, all of the things that this book goes into detail about, all of the things that this book actually gives a voice, hit so hard, like in the realm of like female relationships, female friendships, just the competition between women in general, like inner competition, outward competition. It just like intermarriage, like female friendship. I talked about female friendships already. Like intermarriage conflicts, the differences between women and their marriages. That is something that is so interesting to me in this book because it talks about so much in so little pages. This book is literally under 300 pages. This book hits so much to me, and it has a little place like that just burrowed into my heart because it's one of those books that you can go back to, you can pick out quotes from, and they will always feel so relevant. It's really just a timeless book to me. And it is honestly, it makes you think about things that you never really would think about unless it's put in your face. So, there's that one. Tim Hortons Steeped, a book you read on the go that you come back to again and again. This one feels obvious. This one feels very obvious to me. However, it's going to be very obvious to you, but The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I've talked about this in literally all of my other book tags, but I swear to God, this book, A, is my new favorite book of all time, and B, just an amazing book in general. I could go back to this book every time, no matter what it did to me, no matter the emotional turmoil it put me through, no matter what. I will accept no criticism on this book, and I will continue to go back to it because it just hit in that kind of way where you just kind of cannot experience it again. You cannot experience this for the first time ever again. And honestly, I think that's the case because I went into this book knowing nothing. I went into this book knowing absolutely fuck all about it. And I went through the book making my own assumptions, making my own guesses about what was going to happen, and sometimes turning up right, sometimes turning up wrong. But either way, anything I did, anything I was thinking within this book gave to me tenfold. I love this book so much. I love the fact that we get like the relationship between Addie and Henry, and a relationship between Addie and Luke. But the thing about this book is that it's one of those things that you kind of just have to read to experience, because this is not just a book. It's an actual kind of out-of-body experience for you, because it tackles topics that, again, you never really think about unless they're put in your face, you know? I know. So read this damn book. I swear to God. And if you can, get an edition where it won't tell you what the book is about. I'm not going to say what this book is about, just to preserve some anonymity. You'll probably find it in another one of my book tags. But I adored this book, and I will be rereading it soon, and I will be annotating it, and I actually kind of want to get a second edition of the book just because I love it so much. I want to see the new illustrated edition that's been coming out. So Meyer Lemon, a tangy, fast-paced read, gone before you've truly savored the flavor. Now this one I haven't talked much about, really. This is only going to be the second time I've really talked about it. But Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. Okay. So this is one of those books where I started reading it at some point, and then I stopped, and then when I went back for it, I just could not put it down. This was one of those books where you just kind of eat it up and then go back wanting more, which is what Crooked Kingdom gives to you. Because this book sets up something amazing. It goes through an entire arc and then sets up an amazing next arc. And then when you get to the next arc, it is finished so beautifully. It is finished so succinctly and so completely that you kind of don't want anything else other than what happens to the characters after, what kind of piece these characters go through. But you don't get that, and you're fine with it. Because as long as the adventure's over, all of the characters get a chance to be as they are. But either way, this book was amazing. I will say that. It was 5 out of 5 stars for me. I really enjoyed this book. I really enjoyed the whole fact that there's no amount of romance. There's nothing even resembling romance in here, other than the Kaz and Inej kind of situation. But even then, I kind of didn't even want them to end up together. I just wanted them to be like really good friends. Even though Kaz is my favorite character, mainly because he's A, very morally gray, and B, gives no fucks about anybody. I will say that. But the thing about this book in particular is just that it goes one thing after the other. And it's very fast paced in a way where it doesn't feel like it's too much at once, if you know what I mean. Like, this book, just in general, is so great in the way that it's paced, in the way that it's told, in the way that in the way that things are described to you. Things are really, really great, actually. And I honestly cannot wait to go back to the series in about a year or so and reread it and annotate it. I will be so happy. I will be the happiest girl on this platform. You have no clue. Chamomile Lavender, a relaxing, calming late night read. So for this one, I picked up a genre that I'm not entirely familiar with. However, I did really enjoy this book. Educated by Tara Westover. So this book is one of those things that I read it in high school. I don't remember entirely a lot about it, but I do remember a sense of peace while reading it, because it is a memoir. It is a memoir about this girl who grew up off the grid and then has to deal with her family not liking the fact that she has left the family and actually decided to go into the big bad world. And things are far from peaceful within this book. Things aren't always very peaceful in this book. However, I did feel a sense of peace while reading it. It was honestly pretty relaxing to read in general, because the way it's told isn't in any sort of exciting, explosive way. It's just told as is, and that's what I really liked about the book. The book itself, I'm not really a memoirs person. I prefer action. I prefer fantasy. However, in reading this, I felt a kind of slow down from the typical fast-paced environment of fantasy that I'm used to. And then there was just silence when I finished it, and I was just like, it's a really good book. I didn't feel like I was left lacking or anything. I just felt kind of at peace with this book. So I highly recommend it for that reason. It was, not everybody's going to feel the same way. However, I just felt very peaceful with this book. You know what I mean? So, Lady Grey, a smooth, subtle classic book, perfect for a serene winter morning. So this book doesn't exude any kind of peaceful energy. I will say that. But this author never makes any books that exude any peaceful energy in general, so... But, Alias Grace by Margaret Atwood. So let me say this. This book I haven't talked really much about. But something I will say is that I really enjoyed this book. The way this book is paced, because it's based off a true story. I had to audiobook it because I was just so the type is really small, and I just personally would not be able to get through it without an audiobook. But something that I felt while reading this book was that I wanted to be somewhere by a fire. You know, I wanted to just be sitting curled up in a blanket reading this book. It was for a project. I read this book for a project, for an English project. But in general, I didn't feel as torn up inside as I did with, The Handmaid's Tale. This book obviously wasn't meant to be doing that. It was meant to portray a very unfortunate situation in a more novelistic style, because this was based off a true story, a true Canadian story. I forget what the case was called. I really do. I'll leave some links to it down below if you're really interested in hearing about it. But the way things are described, the way things are told in this novelistic style are really interesting. And it's kind of one of those, it's not really cozy, but it's one of those murder mystery kind of things where you're just kind of like, okay, I guess. But you don't feel really disturbed by it. You feel just kind of comforted. And that feels weird to say, but I am also someone who listens to murder podcasts. So, Orange Pekoe, a popular novel that everyone's read. ACOTAR. Okay, so ACOTAR is one of those staple books that you just kind of cannot really get away from, really. Because everything, and I mean everything, is some sort of remix of either ACOTAR or TOG. I'm not even joking. Like what? I just talked about it. Fourth Wing. The relationship is literally repackaged face and, but it's not even good. Really? Right? Okay. So, and from what I've heard from Blood and Ash, that relationship is kind of reminiscent of Rowaylan or somewhere in there. But then again, that also isn't done very well from what I've heard. So yeah. But this book, honestly, I read it ahead of the trend. I read it in middle school. This was in the YA section of my middle school library. I wish I was joking, but I'm not. This was considered YA originally. Now it's considered new adult. And honestly, again, persistent in my theory, my statement that new adult is just YA, but with porn. I will continue to persist in that theory. You will not stop me. I will hear nothing. I will hear nothing on this take. Okay? Okay. So, yeah. ACOTAR. This is everywhere. If you haven't seen it, I don't know what you've been doing for the past year and a half or so. But ACOTAR, very much a staple, and it's not bad. It's not great either. A Court of Mist and Fury is the best in the series, objectively. I'm just going to say that. And A Court of Silver Flames. I haven't read it, so I don't know. But I honestly don't care enough to read it. So that's all I'm going to say. But I did really like this book, and I still really enjoy it whenever I go back to it, really. It's just the relationship. The relationship was never bad. Okay, so I'm going to talk about this right now because I don't know when I'm ever gonna get to talk about this. Feyre and Tamlin were not a bad couple. In this book, they were not bad. Absolutely not. It's just in A Court of Mist and Fury when things have settled down and Tamlin's need to return to normalcy, even in the face of all the trauma they endured under the mountain, that turns him into a bad partner. But in this book, they were not bad. I will not say they just were not a bad couple. I will not say that. I will never say that they were a bad couple in this first book. They really had a great connection, and their love was believable. I actually believe that Feyre was in love with this man. I truly, truly did. However, people are like shitting on Tamlin for being a tool. And like, yes, he is a tool, but he was never a bad partner. It's just the way he went about love, the way he did it was not the way Feyre needed in the moment that in one of her most vulnerable times within the books. And it just turned out that Rhysand, I call him Rhysand was what she needed at the time, and he turned out to be her forever mate. So yes, that is what she needed. That is what she needed long term. But I will not say, and you will never catch me saying that Tamlin was a bad partner. You will never catch me saying that. I will not hear it from anybody, actually. I won't. I just won't. English Breakfast, a British classic. Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. So I just picked up this edition, but however, I've watched the movie a couple of times, and I just haven't read the books. There's just one book. However, I do call one of my friends Mr. Darcy from time to time. So let's just say Pride and Prejudice, again, is a real classic in English literature. I'm just going to say that. Like, there are so many relationships that are literally based off of Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy. I think that's her name. Yeah, Elizabeth? I think so? Yeah, I'm pretty sure her name's Elizabeth. But, like, there is, like, this is pretty much, like, textbook, like, how to write a kind of enemies to lovers situation. Because I know they start off as, like, not really liking each other very much, and then they go from, okay, you're kind of okay, to I hate you again, and then they get married, right? Is that what happened? It's been a while since I've watched the movie. But still, this is one of those books that it's just like, yeah, even if it's old, even if it's like bad, you can't really fault it for being what it is, because it started off great and it has inspired many other great works. So that's all I'm gonna say about it. Canadian Breakfast, a title that tastes a little like English breakfast but reads like the New World, an early Canadian or American work. And for this one, I chose Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. Okay, listen. I've read this book twice, and I will never say that this book doesn't feel old world to me, but also the way this book is written, the way things are tackled, the perspective we get it from specifically is so new world that it actually feels kind of crazy. It feels like wrong somehow. Because like this book in general just feels like you're moving through an old world film. It really does for the majority of the book. And that's kind of what's happening because you're moving through World War II. Just in general. As it's happening, you're moving through World War II as it is happening. And it's actually fairly interesting that the way I really want to think about this book is that it's one of those books that you just kind of can't really like describe with words. It's really one of those books that you just kind of have to really experience to actually be able to say anything about it. And I really want to reread this because I want to get to the last 3 books in the series. I'm still mad that he continued the series and I was unprepared for it. Like, it's entirely on me, but like, anyways. I really adore this book. This book is one of my favorites. And I will continue to go back to it because it has this kind of charm that you can't really get anywhere else because it just has this kind of old world charm while being seen through like a new world lens. You know what I mean? Yeah. Green, a healthy book that feeds your mind. This one's kind of weird to really think about. I would say everything I've ever read because honestly, reading is is a hobby for me that I use to regulate my anxiety because I have a lot of anxiety. So yeah, everything I've ever read contributes to a healthy mindset of mine. Even though I do obsess over fictional characters, but we're not talking about that. Anyways, last question. Iced tea, a sweet summer treat, brewed for the lazy, brief days of summer. For this one, I'm going with The Night Circus. Listen. We should have expected this by now, but like The Night Circus is one of those books where you just kind of can sit back and watch the mystery unfold for itself. because this book has so many twists and turns that you can really go through without really lifting a finger. It's rooted in this kind of magical, lazy realism, kind of, because it just, the pace is very leisurely. That's what I would say. And then things kind of, I wouldn't say they do, I would say kind of ramp up towards the end. But still, things take a very leisurely pace. You are very much just walking through this world as the story is being told to you. And like, that's what I would say is a great summer kind of book, because you don't really have to think about it too much. There's not really much to really think about within this book. You just kind of need to go along for the ride and just go for it, you know? So yeah, The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. Just go along with it, really. Anyways, guys, that brings this video to an end. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please please hit the like button. And if you want to see more of my content, please subscribe and hit the bell icon so you get notified every time I post a new video. I post weekly on this channel, so don't miss out. And also, if you want to see more content from me, leave me comments down below. What I should put on my TBR, what I should move up my TBR, and videos you'd like to see from me. I always get really happy when I see your comments. It makes me feel so happy and appreciated. Anyways, guys, I love you, Lumas. Bye!